Oh shit! Here we go again.
GamesIndustry.biz got an interview with Leslie Benzie, former GTA games producer and president of Rockstar North. He is now the designer and director of Mindseye studio Build a Rocket Boy. For those of you who don't know, Mindseye is a single-player driven action game. People are comparing it to GTA, but it seems it's not that close to GTA, as much as it involves, you know, cars and maybe crimes and stuff like that, but it seems that narrative is driven towards other things. And Leslie talks about this in this interview with GamesIndustry.biz. They also talk about the length of the game, which should be shorter than the regular open world, you know, slop that we are used to, like games taking 100, 200 hours to complete. They are claiming it takes only 20 hours to complete, and it's a more linear game rather than open world, although it will have some open world activities, especially given some of the developers' past. Let's say the designer and director, which was a former producer of GTA, there are open world activities expected to happen in the game, you know. They also talk about the price point, which should be around $60. Personally, I'd say this game has much more chances of being a huge success if it charged only $40, or even maybe an odd $50, which is not industry standard, but I still guess it would be better than $60. They are still comparing themselves to heavy hitters. And the director also has this vision of not only for this game to get big, but also to have a platform called Everywhere where players can develop content just as Roblox, and they will sell other games, and maybe this content can be allocated between all these games in this platform called Everywhere. This is insane. And it is like a platform where you can develop a lot of games, kind of like Roblox, you know, you have a foundation and then you can draw from that foundation, do your own games, and probably the owners of that platform will take a little cut. And it seems that the developers have this grandeur vision, kinda like a metaverse, if you ask me, but they were also quick to address this, because it seems these developers were in fact in the past looking for blockchain expertise. They were hiring some people. I guess it's up to us to decide if their initial idea was to go for blockchain, but maybe because of how NFTs and the whole Web3 market and gaming is now in bad terms, you know, so maybe they went back on their decision and decided it was not very good, maybe let's just pivot, we can do a platform like Roblox which doesn't depend on Web3. Who knows? Obviously this vision is very big and difficult to achieve, but the studio reportedly has around 450 employees, so that's pretty killer. That's a lot of people. Only major AAA publishers have that amount of people upwards, so I'd say they're definitely going for the big hits, and one can only hope that these big numbers are not entirely tied and independent of Mindseye performance, and maybe the studio has a long-term plan for all these people, because there's one thing this industry does not need, again, is more expansion, reckless expansion with no care for employees and layoffs. If anything goes wrong, or even like they could go on without the layoffs, but they want to hit that margin, so let's hit the layoffs and even it out. So let's only hope for both the success of the game and the studio. Let's hope it was not reckless decisions. Plus, the director also wants to tie up, at least the interview led me to believe, that he wants to tie that idea of this metaverse and interchangeable stories, because the studio aims to release more games, and the story between these games, there's a lore behind everything, at least they claim, and they also intend to explain these things inside the game. So Mindseye, although it's a single player, it's the heavy hitter of the studio, is their debut game. It seems that there are also plans to release more games and also expand on this idea of the metaverse. So let's see, it is definitely interesting. I'm sorry I keep saying metaverse, it does look a lot like the ideas of blockchain and Web3. I know this is nothing like that, but at least they claim it is nothing like that. But metaverse seems like an adequate word. Oh, there. I know I'm over analyzing, guys, and I'm sorry for that, but also in this interview with gamesindustry.biz, I noticed that there's this part that he mentions about going into other projects outside gaming, but he really missed gaming. And when he talks about gaming development, the first two things he said he missed about gaming development were the lawyers and the accountants. Then he said the programmers and the artists. Okay, it might be just way that the interview put these words. But then he said the dancers and the singers. I know he worked on GTA, so he probably worked, huge budget titles, but the dancers in GTA, probably the strippers and things like that. And the singers probably, people singing great songs and creating original songs, which lead me to believe that it's not that he misses game development in an indie sense of developing the mechanics of the game, but maybe he just liked being an entrepreneur in the entertainment industry, which I guess would be very different. If he's working on any other industry like co-industry or anything, maybe it's not as entertainment industry with all that hype and energy that happens when you are in the gaming industry developing a big game. But it's not about lawyers and accountants and dancers, it's about programmers and artists. And obviously there's marketing. Huge budget games will have a lot of things, but the essence of a game, not even the artist, if I might say, it's just about the programmer doing that stuff. And obviously you scale that up, you will have a huge team. And maybe I'm just over analyzing this part, but it seems that the guy thinks big, and that might not be a bad thing, but maybe he does not have the heart in the right place when it comes about gaming. Maybe he's thinking more about the spectacle, but we will see. The game is about to release in a couple of days, and I guess we are all very curious to see how that game will turn out. We all like competition, and I would love for a studio, especially an indie studio, to be going toe-to-toe against Rockstar and GTA and offering a valid experience that we can jump into. And it doesn't necessarily need to just be a GTA clone doing something better. As the director said, it can be a linear game driven by story. It doesn't have multiplayer right now, so it can be a very interesting experience. But let's just hope that I am just overanalyzing some stuff, and that other stuff aren't really as bad as a red flag, because I got more bad news about this studio. Well, I don't know if I exactly had any bad news until now, but this one is very bad news. Two big executives have left the company this week, right before the game is launching. It's like Luke Stephens had this great analogy, shout out to him. He said that the ship is right about to arrive at the port, and you just got two captains just jumping off the ship. Like, something is fishy, Might be just internal affairs, inside the company, but might also mean that they know something about the game that they are not letting the out to the public. And this gives a little bit of red flag vibes. So it's something that really makes us cautious when approaching the game. And the executives that left are Chief Legal Officer and Chief Financial Officer Riley Grabner and Paul Bland have left the company days before the game's release. And this is crazy. As I said, one of them have pronounced, and he said that he is proud of the time that he has worked on the company. I believe it's Riley. Paul Bland has not spoken, at least that I know of, about this, but none of them come out to say anything bad about it. And also, this is not the last of the controversy about Mindseye. Some of you might have known, because I actually got to know about this game with this news, that the co-CEO of the game was seen on Discord replying to a message asking if they think that the bad press about the game was being paid off or sponsored, by an interested party or something. I'll have the image right here. So he replied like 100%. And then he said, "We don't even have to guess who." At first, when I saw this, I thought since Leslie was an ex-Rockstar developer, at first I thought like, wait, so is he kinda claiming that Rockstar want Mindseye to fail, so they are kinda behind the curtains funding a bad narrative about Mindseye? But then, after reading more about it, I know that Leslie Benzies, he's suing Take-Two because it seems they didn't pay at least he claims that they have not paid proper royalties from 2016 to 2019, if I recall correctly. Maybe the co-CEO talking about Take-Two, like they are out to after Leslie specifically, but this is what I could gather. He has not come out to explain further about these comments or this leak, nor anyone in the company, so I guess they might prefer to keep it under wraps, especially if there's a lawsuit going on about Leslie and his former Take-Two employees. I would also like to reiterate that although this game is made by a former, is spearheaded by a former GTA producer, it's a big title, this game, it doesn't seem like GTA, and Leslie specifically tries to clarify this, and I believe him when he says, obviously it's an urban game and will tell a story about something I believe will lean towards the sci-fi aspect, and although we are seeing some red flags, and I will personally keep a watch on the game and see what other people will say about it before trying it out myself, but I am totally curious about this game. What do you guys think about it? Do you think that this game will flop? Do you think that this game will be better than GTA? Do you think that this game will close that, will scratch that itch of GTA? Do you think that there is smoke, there's fire? Do you think there's more to happen behind the scenes? Do you think that the studio will survive the next couple of years? Do you think they will manage to be a success with their environment everywhere platform that they want for users to develop games and trade assets between stuff? And what do you think about it? Let me know in the comments. And let's jump to the next news. So in a video before I talked about Ampere, an analysis firm of the market. They do a lot of analysis in the gaming market, and today I want to talk about a couple of articles I found. Mobile keeps growing as they report, and I believe that is due to how mobile phones are more accessible to the general public rather than having a computer or even a console, and people all around the world, as they get mobile phones in their hands, they also get access to games. There's a lot of untapped potential market to grow still on the mobile, and to grow fast. Obviously, first world places like the US, Europe and Japan already have a lot of the market with mobile phones. There is also a very curious information which is probably due to the shift after the pandemic has ended. There were 20 million less players engaged with the gaming market in the United States this year. This is a lot of people, but it's crazy how people have not engaged with gaming anymore. But probably the last time they had this data was in 2020, which was, pandemic starting to go on, so maybe that's the explanation, no? A lot of these games that have grown on mobile are also puzzle games, which I believe also helps with the accessibility. Puzzle games are games that can be played anywhere, and if they do not have a timer or anything like that, it can be played in short sessions. And I think this helps with accessibility and more people playing and engaging with this stuff. So the puzzle market has increased also a lot. There is also the continuous talk about the potential growth in Middle East, North Africa and South Asia, with China, Japan and South Korea representing most of the spending from Asia right now. There is a lot of untapped potential for growing in those areas. There is also more and more gamers which are old. Yes, people are getting old, which is the natural course. And do you know what this actually points out to? Gaming is a hobby that has come to stay. People who used to play games when they were younger are getting older, and they are not letting games go. Do you know why? I think I have a very easy explanation for that. games are an easy hobby to get into, especially as I said, you can get into a mobile phone. If you have a computer, you can get into a game. And you know, games are a part of our lives, and digital games are becoming more and more a part of our lives as we get more digital gadgets around us. And this is not the only reason. If you like doing a sport, if you like traveling, if you have any other hobbies, gaming does not interfere with that. You can be as much as a hardcore gamer which have 20 hours a week, 30 hours a week gaming sessions, or even more if you have free time, if you are retired, for example. But you can also be a gamer that play 10 hours a week, 5 hours a week, even 2 hours a week. It depends. So a lot of people engage with games with different schedules, and these people have money because most are becoming adults now. Gaming is still a lot prevalent with young people. Obviously, this is when you have the most interest in gaming, I would say, especially because you probably have more free time to invest in gaming. And people used to think that old people, adult people wouldn't play games, but they do. And as more and more people get into gaming, we will see the audience of old people wanting to play a game will be bigger. And I am curious to see what kind of genres will old people play. Will they play strategy games, maybe turn-based RPGs? Maybe old retro games. These are all games that I play, so maybe I would love to play the games directed at old people. Maybe they will be investigation games, and you can obviously go to these sites and help me understand this, so we can all talk about it. I find this very interesting to talk about the market and how things are going and where they might go and the reason why these things are happening, you know. Tell me in the comments if you also like that. I enjoy that a lot. That's the main reason I do these videos. And I have this great article on the BBC talking about gentle video games, probably talking about cozy games, you know, all this genre. And I think this also ties up to what I'm saying. As more and more people get into games, more and more genres and potential markets will open up because they are unexplored by AAAs, or maybe they were markets that had very few players, but maybe with the new influx of players, more of these niche markets will have more people playing these games and will have more money and therefore will grow more. And I believe this also points out to our next topic, which is gamers wait a lot for sales. It seems that around 40% of gamers in this report actually wait for major discounts to buy games. And you might obviously jump to the conclusion that I obviously also jumped, that it's because of the economy right now, right? First, it is, obviously. But I also think that gamers are more informed than ever. Videos about the gaming industry, talks about it, people are getting more informed. We know more about games, we don't fall for trailers anymore. Obviously, no, some people will fall, but people are getting more and more educated on gaming releases, on game trailers, on trying to see red flags. A lot of channels on YouTube are dedicated to this. So, as people get more and more informed, they will also realize the true value of some games. And, you know, as a company releases a game and then people buy the game day one, and then after 30 days they are doing like 50% sales, people will realize like, whoa, this game was not worth what I paid. They were just waiting for the suckers to get in first, and they will make the game beat its true price, and then it gets on 50% sales every 2 months. So I think people are getting more informed, and they are trying to spend their money in a more conscious manner, in a more well thought manner. And I think all these articles point out to very exciting news that there's a lot of market, so gaming industry will keep growing. We will keep seeing more jobs, more studios, and more niche markets getting bigger, even if by just a little. So I guess these are good news all around if you're trying to see the big picture. We are still getting a lot of layoffs. As I said, the way that Mindseye has 450 developers before they even release their first game is a little bit worrying, but I hope everything goes well. As we have more and more players, customers in the industry, we will have more money, more people. We'll see how gaming can be beneficial, both by exercising your mind, being just a hobby, something to relax, maybe a place you can just vent and, you know, let it out a little bit of that day-to-day frustration. I think gaming as a healthy hobby is super beneficial to people's lives, and I am glad to see that we are going into a future that accepts games and gamers with less prejudice and can see the benefits of it, and we can all be healthy and cool about it and enjoy this great and amazing hobby which are the digital games. Alright, this has been Notidle News. I hope you have enjoyed. I always try to tie all this news up, and I have more for you. I expect to be releasing more this week, so stay tuned for more, and we will see each other, well, someday, I guess. Bye bye!
Oh shit, here we go again.